because later on you will be having your research. Usually students are confused when using sampling techniques. Diba? Kainom mo, mag-research mo. No, mag-research mo. When you do a quantitative study, kaya ila ba tagon sa quantitative study man nakasuway mo senior high na, di ba? Quanti. Unsa nang quanti nga study?
More
Unsa
on
nakalahi
this.
sa quanti? More on?
Sir.
Numerical siya, sir.
Okay. More on numerical, no? So it's more on kana gani mag-test ka og mga relationship, comparison, may mga hypothesis testing. Familiar, no? Wala sa mga quanti nga study. So diha mo come in ang atong learning in statistics, no? So whatever we learn here will be applied during your research. Students are usually confused. They will have the tendency to indicate sa ilang manuscript that they are going to be using convenient sampling. Asa na ang kategory na bilong ang convenient sampling? Scientific, non-scientific. And by the way, ingon tag scientific, we mean random ha. If it's non-scientific, that is man ang non-random. So, may tag convenient sampling, asa man na nabilong? Sa random or non-random?
Non-random, sir.
Or non-scientific sampling.
Okay, correct. So that's non-random or non-scientific. So this is a common mistake. Usually that's maybe perceived by students that when they do quantitative studies, is there a significant relationship? Kana mag-test og mga relationship? Is there a significant difference? They will be usually confused with figuring out unsa may akong sampling technique ani ay kaya ang akong gigamit ang ako mga classmates mga estudyante no I'm going to be using convenience sampling ani siya sir dili when we talk about quantitative research or do quantitative testing of relationship or differences we do the scientific adto ta manguha sa scientific okay dito na because I've been sitting down mga researchers mga thesis presentations, diha sila usually maglibog. So, that's one thing that you could take note.
Sir, nawala ka, sir.
Okay. Asa ka nilapita ang problema nila? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Can you hear me? Dungan ka ninyo?
Yes, sir. Nabalik na, sir.
Alright, very inconvenient, no? This is already my data. Yapon. Actually, murma okay man kung ato kos gawas. So, sad gayo. Alimuot pud gayo. Saba. So, guntahan na lang ninyo ha.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so another thing is the use of a sample to make conclusions or inferences for the population. So if you can recall, there was an emphasis there that there are two classifications of research na descriptive research na apoy gitawag og descriptive statistics. I'm so sorry. Descriptive statistics, and there is also the inferential statistics. Now, unsa may kalahian na nila. So, descriptive statistics is just more on describing data, presenting it as it is, no? But it's more on presenting a hypothesis, a claim and then proving that claim, whether or not that is true, and then making conclusions. So you take a sample from a certain population, and then we decide, conclude for the population in the basis of the sample. That should be clear enough, no? So before we move on, I would just like to ask, di ba nag-answer naman mo activity, no? There was also a portion there that we talk about levels of measurement. Can you recall? What is the lowest level of measurement? Lowest. Data. Itong pinaka-lowest. Katong merely for labeling. Katong pang-label lang ba?
Nominal, sir.
Label. Very
Nominal.
good. Nominal. Nominal.
No,
Pinakaubos na. Yes, nominal. Pinakaubos. So, nominal data within terms to level is the least or the lowest within terms to level. Nga no mga lowest siya kay pang-labeling or pang-identification naman siya purposes. Can you give me example or an example on top of your head sa nominal data? Anybody?
Gender, sir.
Region,
Then,
sir.
Race, sir.
Religion.
Masunod
Gender,
ba ang race,
religion.
sir?
Race, usually the more, I would say, considerable term na gamiton sa race kay dili jud race, ethnicity ang gamiton ana.
Ethnicity.
Okay? Ethnicity.
Sir.
Maura na gimin ha, pero gimin ana pero based on kanang gitawag og mga formal literature, gikan sa mga literature, dili kayo mogamit og word nga race. It's more on ethnicity. Unsa may gipsabot sa ethnicity? Yeah, you Asian, Hispanic, no? Usually race ang atong gimin ana pero di sila mogamit ang term. But that's about the same. So let me just add in, no? Nganong pang-labeling raman ni siya kani sila nga mga words. Especially, let me give you an example, no? Kaning religion panitan. Di ba? We know that religion, of course, we might be having differences in terms to religion, no? So we don't really mean anything for that. But let's say when we say religion, it's just for labeling because we cannot put one religion, the number one or the number two from the other, from the others. Do you agree? Di ba? It's just a matter of label. We can't, di ba? Because if we have to move on to the next data, naabay ito yung mga klase ng mga data nga imo silang i-compare, no? So with those, musugot day ka, let's say, between gender, male and female, nga mas higher ang male or mas higher ang female, di ba? Dita musugot. So that's why they are just for labeling purposes. What's the next one? Katong babaw-babaw gamay sa nominal.
Ordinal, sir.
Ordinal, sir.
Okay, ordinal.
Ordinal, sir.
Ordinal. Take note that these data within terms to the levels of these data or measurements, they take the characteristics from the lowest level. So kung ang sa lowest nga level nga nominal pang labeling lang, identification, eksaka inig ordinal, ang characteristics sa ordinal na ay dito sa ubos, na dito sa nominal. Wala pa. Masig later. Pag natin na may payo. kita. Okay. So the ordinal data has characteristics wherein that we can use them for identification. However, it has an added characteristic. So unsa may na-add niya? Then there are already unsa na-add? Naana siya
Pwede na siya ma-arrange,
certain order.
sir.
Pwede na siya ma-arrange, pwede na siya ma-order. However, to naay caveat, no? However, the arrangement or order does not really mean anything. So let's try to rationalize. The order niya wala day meaning. So katong mga examples daghan dito. Number one nga example nga siguro familiar kita, let's say if we talk about sizes in terms to our t-shirts baro, no? Okay,
Sir, nawala
pero
ka,
mo
sir.
t-shirt sa inyong school. Ang imong size small, ang classmates medium, ang usa large. No? Naaron lagi ko.
Nabalik na, sir. Nawala ka kadalit, sir.
Wala ko kadali, so nag-teleport ko. Okay. So So having a size of small compared to that medium or large, though it might be something that can be put in order, doesn't mean that one measure or size there is better than the other. It should be clear. No? Next one is what type of data? We have the
Interval.
Interval, sir.
interval. No? Interval. Wala ko gipakita niya nga visual no para at least maka-recall ta. So when you say interval, unsa may characteristic niya nga more than sa ordinal. So if it's interval, then pwede na siya nga
Okay.
marang. Unsa mo to?
Mark.
Unsa mo to? Unsa agay? Ano agay man? Unsa naman to, Miss Rebecca? Nilike na ba sila? Yung agay, nilike.
Sir. Sorry, sir.
So there is no zero reference point, no? Basta kaming interval data, no? And then the highest one of all is what we call as
Ratio.
kasi pinakahayas
Ratio.
ratio.
Ratio, sir.
Ratios. So tanan characteristic dito sa tulo nga nasi added nga feature na nagid sa zero true value, no? Atong i-differentiate ang ratio og ang interval, no? So interval data does not really have a true zero reference point. Naa say matawag mo zero but it's not really like a zero nga wa gid siya, no? Let's say if we talk about temperature, na temperature nga zero, but does it mean nga wala na siya? It's zero, but it's still something that exists, no? Naagya po siya. When you say ratio, there is already a zero or a true zero reference point. So, unsa man to na example sa to mga height, weight. So, to simply put, if we say ratio data, then it means to say that it's the existence or non-existence of that. Kung naa siya, like a salary, for example, it might be very small, but naa siya, no? It's not going to be zero. Like height, for example, nothing will have a zero height. Maybe minimal kay gamay kayo. Okay, so ni-answer naman mo sa activity, no? So, di ba? Naman to yung mga types of data nga inyong gi-identify dito, no? So, quickly lang no? Di ba naman to yung usa ka question dito katong a brand of a shoe or shoe brand? Unsa man ang type of data kanang shoe brand? Nominal, interval, ratio, ordinal.
Nominal, sir.
What type of data? Nominal ba siya?
Nominal. Nominal, sir.
Nominal, okay. What about katong sa your favorite food?
Nominal, sir.
Nominal, sir.
Nominal. Any other answer? Na kanang lain nga answer.
Interval, sir.
Nominal lagi? Sure? Interval.
Ordinal,
Ano,
sir.
Interval. Ordinal. Interval. So it is?
Ordinal, sir. Ordinal.
Ordinal. Oh, nganong na ordinal ka? Anybody? Nganong, kung answer ko ordinal, nga sa imong explanation.
Kay, pwede man siya ma-arrange, sir, like, for example, ang pinaka-least nga favorite ni mga food to the pinajud ka favorite ni mga food, sir.
So,
But
meaning to
ang
say,
iyahang
what if my
kanang
answer-
arrangement kay dili gyapon, I will like kula gyapon, like meaningless gyapon kay dili man ta makaingon nga mas better ang kato nga food kay subjective man gyud siya, magdepende man sa person.
Okay, what if mo answer ka nga, imo ikaw, Miss Kuano or Olid, what is your favorite food? May akong pangutana, what will be your answer? What's your favorite food? For example lang, naadyo tingalin, what is your favorite food? Kung sa may answer?
My favorite food, sir, kay munggos.
Mongoose. Okay. So it means to say that you might, because it's your favorite, you must have ranked it as number one. Do you agree? Oh, among the others, no? So meaning to say, you already have made like an order. Maybe there's one next to that, number two, number three. So that's why there is order. Imo na siyang gi-order man ang imo ni come out na siya nga pinaka-favorite naman. So because you already have put an order to it. So the answer in that one, katong question is ordinal, no? Later on, checking na tana. Okay. So maybe it's about time that I need to continue. I just needed to make sure that we were able to review that. Laing kayo mapadayon ta diretso niya. Wala pa kayo nag-grasp, no? So is my screen visible? Not audible? Can see my screen?
Dili, sir.
Wala, sir.
Dili?
No, sir.
Sige. Atong i-share screen. Kana. Kita na.
Naana, sir.
Nindot man din na natin mga visual. Okay. Nindot na ako sa na visual kaysa sige lang. Atong maestro itong tanawa, no? Oo, nakignaw. So, imagine. So, man na to, no? Itong last. So, continuous tas lain. So, try to imagine that your entire class. Kamo, no? Pila mo kabuok sa inyong section? You are 20?
19,
20 ka ba?
sir.
18?
19.
19. Nanay ni Undang, wapa. Wapa ni Undang.
Wala pa ni undang, sir.
Sir.
Wala pa ni Undang. Hapit na. Hapit na. Ano
Yan na daw.
balita?
Undang
Ano
namin.
na? Okay, sige. Wapa mo kaamgo, no? Okay, sige. Yan, nindot ng balita, kompleto pa mo o so far, okay ra. Okay pa?
Okay pa, sir.
Okay pa, sir.
Okay.
Madapa
Alright,
ginhawa.
madapag yun. Okay, so imagine that your class, come on, no? You, 19 of you, no? You go to a certain area. Maybe you go to a gym. You go to maybe a basketball court. Or diha sa atong ano, Sibutek gym, no? Nanood mo. So, what can you expect? So, it should be an area that is wide enough, no? So, usually, wider than a classroom. Obviously, di ba? Gamay raman ang classroom. Lisod man tag lihok-lihok. But if you are in a more open area, like that of a gym, for example, then it's way more spacious, no? So, dako kay space. Nakamura good in 19 na mo kabuok, no? And then in that area there are different setups. Naigi pang setup. Of course, unsay nasa gym na basketball court diha so nga. So imagine na sa aniha kay wa man ta didto. So there is a basketball court. Of course, unsa man na score there's a basketball ring. Basketball. Kaya alam tag basketball, di ba? Sa gitam do basketball. Is everybody familiar with basketball?
Basketball player, sir.
Ay, ang basketball player, familiar, mo si Peter, mo itong tingugay, ang basketball player, so kinsa may mong nailhan? Si Kobe Paras, kinsa man? Kinsa man imong table player di ay Kobe Paras o katong uyab ni kinsa to, Andrea Brelertes, kinsa nga na to? Ito yung uyab?
Richie, sir.
Pechi.
Si
Richie Rivero.
no? Okay. Importante, bahalag di ka ba umdog basket, basta kaila o basketball player ha. So, importante kayo na. Ingon mo. So, there's like a basketball court. If there's a basketball court, obviously, there should be a basketball ring. Sa diyang bola. And then, there are also, like, stations, no? Some mga stations to describe. Okay, probability ba niya itong subject? So, ato i-connect, no? So, dili na ordinary yung sa mga station. It should be connected to something, no? Kanahon na tanong. probability man din among istoryan sa among subject. So there could be na station diha with a dice. Unsay singular sa word nga dice? Singular. Die. Die ha. Oh, D-I-E. Dili die nga mamatay. Die ra gyud siya, no? That's singular. Plural is dice. Two or more is plural na diha. There's also a station with station with cards.
Sir,
sa
excuse
baraha,
me,
no?
sir.
Kasama kami shoot atos basketball ring sa
Putol-putol ka, sir.
Putol ko. Luuyan ako ano. There should be something to... Gizap-chap di ko. Paita. Kana, okay na. Kaya wala naman igawas ang katong kuan.
Okay na, sir.
Okay na.
Yes, sige. Sige. And there's also a station where you can determine your rate, no? Stations. Okay. So, familiar mo tag dice, di ba? Of course, dice kung duha ka buok. So, how many faces does a die have?
6, sir.
Six, no? 6, no? Di ba? 6. Kaya usa ka face until 6 man na siya dyan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6. Sa baraha, how many cards are there? Kanang magduduwa tag cards, no?
52.
52,
A
sir.
deck of cards.
52, sir.
There are 52, no? 52. That's correct. How many faces does a coin have?
2, sir.
2, sir. 2.
Duha. How do we call it usually?
Head
Tail,
and
head,
tail.
and tail.
Head and tail.
Head, tail. Okay. And then, when we do shooting, what are the two possible outcomes? Kung itsa ka na ray, na bola. What are two possible outcomes?
Ma-shoot o dili ma-shoot.
Ma-shoot
sir.
or
Shot.
Okay. So kung bulalo kay ka mukha, hindi ka shot, no? No, kung shooter ka shot. Okay. Within terms to weight, so lahi ting itong question, no? So what are the usual units that we use for weight? Kaming kamao niya ako timbang.
Kilograms, grams.
Kilograms niya usay ang usa man. Dili magamit og kilogram unsa nga unit of measure. Pounds. No? Pounds. So man usual, no? Yeah, so pounds pounds man niya akong timbang, in kilograms man niya akong timbang. Okay. So you perhaps go to the die station, no? So let's try to answer the questions. So how many possible outcomes are there in rolling a die once? Usa ra ka die, imo i-roll. Ilabay yun sa kausa. Pilay possible outcomes? Possible.
6, ay joke.
1/6, sir.
1.
So possible outcomes could be 1/6, no? Or there's 6 to be exact, no? But of course, out of the 6, usa ang gawas. Yung usa man naka-face, no? So how many possible outcomes in rolling it once could be 6, no? What about twice? What about kaduha? Sa kaduha.
3, sir.
36, sir.
1/3, sir.
What about
1/3,
katuloy na ka?
3.
What about katuloy na ka
1/3,
mo-roll?
sir.
1/2, sir.
1/2.
Half. Kung katuloy na.
116, sir. 216.
Sige. So sana imagine nun. Okay, next. What are the possible outcomes in rolling a die once, twice? Balik-balik mo niya siya day. Mauna na. So, kaning third, no? How many possible outcomes are there in rolling a die twice to get a sum of 3, 5, and 7? So, the bottom line here is, ato makalculate, no? Di lang sila pakwentahon later na lang. So of course, that gives us the idea that we count the possibilities and how is that possibility or those possibilities over, no? Sa total. Kaya dili man na nato ma-obtain tanan. But of course, there are conditions, no? Kay kapila ni nag-roll, for example, like getting a certain sum. So what we're trying to realize is that there are conditions, there are possibilities. Mga ganun nangutana siya mga possible, no? So this is talking about possibilities in general. Coin station. Ito ka dito. Ingon taga niya nga, it could be a head or it could be a tail. So what are the possible outcomes in tossing a coin once? So it could be a head or a tail, di ba? But if you toss the coin twice, no? Thrice. Ato lang sa mga ikuan. Check. How many possible outcomes are there in tossing a coin once or twice? Balik na ba? Okay. Ato yung check. Basta may uban mo kasubay ba? Why are there 52? How do we count? Magutay ko ano, example. Ato lang na ginon. Anong 52?
Labot tong alas, sir.
Apil ang alas. So may bawaan na gudirikin sa mga mo og tong 8 ano eh. No? So ang alas kung magduwag tong 8 dapat dili na nimo ilabay no. Okay. Way maangkon. So it's going to be 52 no? Because there are like 13 different kinds of or 13 types of cards and then having 4 different tama na iya mga dalain na iya mga buwak-buwak no. So that's why we have 13 times 4. So if we draw 4 cards in a deck of cards randomly, 52 man na iyang total no. So what are the possible number of aces that you can get? Pila ka chance nga alas imo makuha? Ace.
Upat, sir.
Upat, sir.
Upat, sir.
Opat. But of course, that's yes.
52.
Okay.
1 over
Alright.
13, sir.
Let's continue. What about when we shoot the ball or a ball, no? Ingon ta kaniya nga, of course, it should be obvious that there can just only be 2 possible outcomes, no? So it's either you'll make it or not make it, no? So the question now is, how many tries can we or should we or will you make in order to get the first successful shot? So maybe this is like an open-ended question, no? So we cannot really say that ma-shot yun mo, no? Not unless maybe you are someone who's really playing basketball for so long and that good, no? But of course, this question depends on the outcome, no? So in 3 successive shots, how many possible successful shots can you make? So of course, we can only imagine, no? It depends. It depends on the circumstances. May isa sa kagatulo. We can't really guess. Depende na siya sa unsay outcome. Obviously, makaingon tayo, it's either masyatanan, way masyat, usaray masyat, duha, di ba? What is the weight of the lightest member in your class? We don't mean anything, ha? Let me just, example na siya, like it's just to prove something. Like, of course, we are different builds. May lighter, may light, may medyo di sad kay light, no? So, of course, we can always even rank, no? Kinsay pinaka gamay timbang, no? Bugat-bugat, for example. So, what is the heaviest weight of the heaviest member in the class, for example, and so on. Now, we refer to things that are going to be obtained randomly. So kato sila, possible to mahatag to sila og mga random nga mga outcomes. Of course, no? As I've said, we could not predict, let's say in one instance of shooting a ball, paitsahong kagkausa, you cannot really predict nga shot gid na or di gid na ma-shot. So it could be a random instance. Now, all of those, mo draw ka og card, no? You know, katong mo toss ka og coin, for example, which will give you like random results, could produce, when repeatedly done, no? When repeatedly done, could produce what we call as a random variable. We already have mentioned it the last time, no? Kabaw na taon sa variable. Unsa ganito yung variable? Can you give me another term or terms? Two other terms for variable? Ako tong gi-specify the last time. Another word sa variable.
Kuan, sir, ay differ
Another
from one another.
Mato yung definition, but another word. Sakto to, no? But there are still two particular words. Two other words.
Discrete continuous, sir.
Of course, they differ from the one another. Dili kato, katong
Changing, sir.
Kato ng mga detalye, kato ng kuan. Oh, changing, no? Change or changes.
Yes, sir.
And the other one is varying or mo vary, you can recall, no? So, mo na maglailahi or change. Okay, mo vary man siya. That's why from the word variable, varies or changes. So a random variable is a variable whose values depend on the outcomes of a random event. So unsa man ning gipasabot na tog random event. So kadto, when you do a tossing of a coin, regardless, like let's say you're trying to guess on say mo gawas head or tails once, twice, thrice, and so on. You shoot a ball once, twice, thrice. You draw a number of cards from the deck of cards once, or how many, what you're trying to draw. Those instances are what we call as a random event, no? Those are random events or random experiments. So this random variable is a variable whose values depend on the outcome. Take note, no? This random variable is a kind of variable whose value or values depend on the outcomes of a random event. Either of those random experiments or events that we have made mention earlier. So in the same manner, this what we call as random variable is a numerical quantity. So number, no, kay numerical man. Of course, it's a numerical quantity that is random. So when you say random, what other term can we actually associate it with? So if it's random, it's related to chance. Diba? Random man. So it could be just chance. It has a chance to have a certain result. No? Of course, statistically, we use the word randomness when we talk about chance. So much when we refer to layman's terms, we usually say it's what's the chance? What are the chances? We're actually referring to the randomness. So we usually use, in our case, no, capital letters in representing our random variables. Letters X, Y, Z. And the usually the letter part, or the later letters of the English alphabet. That's to denote random variables, capital letters, no? There's also the usage of lowercase letters for these corresponding capital letters. So the capital letters are for the actual random variables, and their corresponding small letters are for the possible values. So let's say if you use the variable x, capital letter X, then we can use the small letter x to denote possible value nga mo come out ana nga random variable. So it's just matter of pairing, no? So a sample space is something that we actually are always aware of. Diba, earlier I asked you about panangitan mo kuan ka, no? Mo toss ka og coin kausa. What gave you the idea nga 1/2 ang chance, no? Kung kaduha ka mag-toss, kapila imong chances. It's because we associate it with the idea that there should be what we call as a sample space. Yeah, no? Quickly. Diba? We talk about rolling a die. Diba? What gave us the idea that, let's say if we have one die and then we roll it once, it's the chance of getting at least a value there is 1 out of 6. It's because we are aware that a die has 6 faces, no? Upat ka buok iyang noun. So we can have the chance of getting 1 among those 6 faces niya out of 6. That figure there, or numerical quantity nga 6, is the one that refers to as the sample space. In that particular instance, in that particular random experiment. So what does a sample space mean? So it's a collection, or it's like to, when you roll a die, we know that there are 6 possible outcomes. No? It could be a 1, katong usa ka dot, 2, katong 2 ka dots, 3, 2 ka dots, and so on. 6 with 6 dots. So this particular sample space is usually represented using the symbol S. No? S ang gamiton, ano? Capital letter S. I'm not sure if I was able to highlight it sa atong logic gahapon, but when we refer to sets, can you recall we talk about the universal set? Recall mo to, universal set. Ito ang i-discuss gahapon ba? Can you recall? Universal set. Kalimot na.
Yes, sir.
Universal set. Okay. So the same is true with referring to the sample space. Usually the capital letter S is allotted for a sample space. So universal set, usually we typically assign the letter or the capital letter U to refer to a universal set. Dito sa atong set, no? Sa atong other subject. Here, S is usually associated or utilized to refer to space. Okay. Let's look at an example here. Okay, bawa naman tagong sa sample space, no? So let's consider having an experiment. So one of those experiments earlier can be katong sa coin station. So let's say if we toss atong ilabay, no? 2 coins at the same time. So katong ganiya usar to ka coin, karon you have 2 coins. And we understand that we could have either a head or a tail on those coins, no? So it could be both will have tails, both may have heads, or both, or either, no? Usa head ang usa tail ang usa. Those are possibilities, no? Those are chances that could be randomly produced. So in this experiment, we will be tossing 2 coins, dungan at the same time. And we will use X. Diba pwede mo tamagang X, Y, Z, capital letter X, Y, Z. to take note and indicate or denote the number of tails that turn up or that turn up there, no? Then the possible values of x, no? Munang gamay na ng x diri. Kay ma'am niya possible value sa gipangalan natong x nga experiment of tossing 2 coins at the same time. So atong random variable diri atong pangalan og capital letter x. Ang possible value sa ani nga random variable atong pangalan x is can be associated with a small letter x. Kaya ingon man ta ba sa possible values, small letter x. So iyang possible values are could be 0, 1, or 2. So, di man na ito gikuha kaning 0, 1, 2. So, para dito maglibog, we can refer to the table here now. So, muna na possible value sa atong x nga variable represented by the small letter x, no? 0, 1, 2. 0, 1, 2 meaning to say that we can have take note of the problem. Ingon man diri sa problem. It's very important that we understand what the experiment is about. The experiment here emphasizes the possibility of getting a tail. Wala sa mention there the possibility of getting a head. If we have emphasized here the possibility of randomness or chance of getting a head, then it's also another scenario. But here, let's focus that we are trying to determine the chances of getting a tail. So meaning to say, if we
Sir? Wala pa, sir.
Nawa today. Asa na ko to? Ayun. Ganito na? Dire na ba to? Can I get a confirmation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dire na, okay. Anyway, gamay ra kayo pilar ni ka slides 18. Ako ra yun yung medyo hinay no. Just to be fair. So, di sa mo makaingon nga dali ni nako. We still have 15 minutes. We are going to maximize the remaining 15 minutes. We will disconnect so that we can generate a new link. Yeah, to mo login niya kanang kay ma-disconnect naman siya in 6 minutes. So let's just leave this interaction.